Hey everybody, it's me, Remy, the comic book poser, and I'm here to welcome you to Enter the Poserverse. Another new comic book day is on the horizon. I've gotten 40 and like 30 books in each of the last 2 weeks, so we'll see exactly what makes the list after this.
Hey! The champ is telling you to do something! Alright, you know what? You know what? You know what just happened? Because you didn't do what he said? You know what? You know what? You just made the list!
Alright, so for those of you who are new to checking this video out, this is by no means a comprehensive list of every single book that's coming out next week. It is literally me telling you what's on my pull list and why. So from Aftershock, I've got one book this week, and it's Join the Future number 5, written by Zach Kaplan with art by Peter Kowalski. I think we're gonna finally find in this book why the future, the big mega city that's kind of been developing on the horizon, might be something as less than desirable in the eyes of our protagonist. This book has been action-packed. There have been twists and turns, betrayals, all kinds of things, and I want to see if we finally get a glimpse as to why the future, the big city, may be bad. From AWA, we've got 2 books. The first is Bad Mother number 2. It's written by Christina Faust with art by Mike Deodato Jr. I really enjoyed the idea behind the first book, that you've got this woman who's relatively unnoticed, who may be taking a turn for a vengeance-filled path to figure out what has happened to her daughter, or who kidnapped her daughter. So I like the cover of this, where you see her like trying to dry blood or wash blood out of clothing. I think that's pretty cool, so I like the idea of the soccer mom Punisher. And the second is Resistance number 5. It's written by J. Michael Straczynski, again with art by Mike Deodato Jr. I like watching what is happening with everybody who's kind of actualizing their powers after, you know, the pandemic that they're in. And there's been a lot of buzz surrounding this book and this cover because of what was on the back of last week's Grendel, Kentucky, where on that cover you see the tagline "Baking Bad," which is something that's been used on the promotional materials for Bad Mother. So we know that AWA is creating this big shared universe. We know that that's what they've promised from the get-go. So is the Resistance going to be this first title that really starts to give us some clarity in terms of the interconnectedness of all of their different stories? From Boom, I'm picking up one title this week, and it's Something's Killing the Children number 10. There are 2 covers. If I can find that incentive cover, then I'm going to pick it up because it looks sweet. But it's by James Tynion IV with art by Weatherdell Adara and colors by Mikel Muerto. This story continues to be more insane. We saw that in the 9th book, the young monsters were about to unleash hell, that the worst case scenario that the House Slaughter was terrified of is on the verge of becoming the norm. So there's a very good chance that Something is Killing the Children is the very first book that I read this week. From Dark Horse, there's one book that I'm picking up, and it is going to be good even if I think it's a turd. It's Bill and Ted Are Doomed number 1. It's written by Evan Dorkin, and the art is by Roger Landridge, and there are a couple of covers that I've seen for this one, but I'm going to get the regular A cover, which is by Evan Dorkin and Sarah Dyer. I'm a huge sucker for Bill and Ted. When the omnibus collecting everything, essentially after the Go to Hell storyline came out, I flew through it. I read it again after watching Bill and Ted Face the Music. This is the storyline that I was obsessed with, or these were 2 characters that I was obsessed with throughout my childhood to now. I've got Bill and Ted Pops. I put Be Excellent to each other and Party On Dudes on a lot of stuff that, you know, I share with my students, that getting to not have to go die of COVID in theaters to see the Bill and Ted movie was something really nice, that I got good nostalgic dad time that I cried at the end of. So I want to see what's going on in this next new book from Dark Horse. From DC, I've got 4 this week. The first is Dark Knight's Death Metal Trinity Crisis. It's a one-shot. The A cover is by Francis Manipal, and it's written by Scott Snyder with art by Francis Manipal. I'm picking this up since I'm gonna buy the 4 kajillion books that are coming out that are tied to death metal. Again, I still don't fully know what's going on in this series, but I'll pick one up. I was lucky enough to pick up the first printing of the Robin King book, so I don't know if there's some kind of big revelation or hype surrounding this title, but I'll pick it up to binge read all of them when the event is over. Next up is Flash number 761 by Joshua Williamson with art by Howard Porter, and I'll get the A cover, which is a Porter cover. In successfully kind of vibrating Reverse Flash out of his body or his consciousness, we wonder what is the next coming threat that Barry Allen and the family will have to deal with. We saw the threat from like the future siblings kind of lingering towards the end, so we'll finally get to see how powerful and terrifying those kids from an alternate timeline are. The next up is Green Lantern number 7 by Grant Morrison with art by Liam Sharp, and I'll get the A cover again from Liam Sharp. This book has become a literal acid trip once we figured out that, like, Hal Jordan maybe has been hallucinating some of the weird stories. So can we figure out what's going on? Like, I'll still keep getting Green Lantern, that I'm into what's going on this run, but it just feels like a, you know, drug hallucination or a fever dream. And then the last one from DC this week for me is Joker Harley Criminal Sanity number 5 by Cami Garcia with art by Miko Swayan and Jason Bedoer. And I'll get the A cover because it's a Matina cover, and y'all know how much I love me some Matina. This has been one of my favorite ongoing Black Label series in terms of looking at kind of the cat and mouse game that's being played between Dr. Harleen Quinzel and the man that is kind of evolving into the Joker. It's been a really, really good read that I just kind of stumbled into when I was buying a lot of number 1s that had Batman universe kind of stuff on it, so I'm ready to see what's next. From IDW, there's one book for me this week, and it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 109 by Sophie Campbell with art by Jody Nishima. And the A cover is also by Jody Nishima. I'm finally all caught up with this, that during some professional development meetings I read 100 up to 108 with the annual. I like looking at what's going on with the, you know, mutant animals that are acceptable versus unacceptable. We got to see kind of the team coming back together after the death of Splinter in book 108, and I've got to go back and find the Death of Splinter book since I started at number 101, but I'm really, really liking what's going on with Ninja Turtles. I'm excited for the next couple of offshoots and series that are coming out, but it's real good. Y'all should read Ninja Turtles, and you should listen to people who have way more stature than me that say this book is good, because it's damn good. From Image, there's one that I'm planning to get and one that I hope to get. The first is Reaver number 11 by Justin Jordan with art by Nico Henriken. I've loved what's happened in this, watching what Rakala and Essenbreaker are kind of dealing with and how they're fighting their way out of a jam in this one. Has been a very, very satisfying fantasy read, and I think this is the last book of the arc, or there's one more. I can't remember if it was a 5 or a 6 issue first arc. Maybe there's one more. I don't know. The other books, the book that I'm hoping to pick up a physical copy of, because I'm a dummy who didn't pre-order it online, is the Ice Cream Man Quarantine Chronicles book. I read those online when they came out. I am, you know, addicted to Ice Cream Man now that I've read all of them in trade. I've been hunting down all of the Dr. Seuss covers of issue 20 with mixed amounts of luck, but I want those, especially when half of the profits go back to a fund to kind of keep comic shops afloat as this world continues to be more and more batshit crazy. If I'm kind of excited for Something Is Killing the Children number 10, the two books that I am ridiculously excited for this week both come from Mad Cave Studios, and they're both number 1s. The first is Dryfoot number 1. It's written by Jared Lahan with art by Orlando Casieto and a couple of other folks. I've read this in preview form, It's a brilliant story. One of the things that I'm excited to get in the mail as I've started ordering some art from Karate Kevin over at the Superpower Review. He did a remark of an advanced reader copy of Dryfoot, adding the villain to it, and he was like, I know you like this book. Are you interested in my remark? And I was like, yes. Jared Lahan has been thumping the pavement to get everybody to get this book, and I think all of his work is worth it. This book is just stellar. The other Mad Cave #1 that's coming out this week is Stargazer #1, and it's written by Anthony Cleveland with art by Antonio Fuso. This is the Mad Cave book that's been getting a great deal of hype. It was one of the ones that was supposed to come out pre-COVID, I think, and then when distribution kind of got pushed around, it got pushed back. I've seen some of the interior art for this, but this is one of the few Mad Cave #1s that I haven't been lucky enough to preview. But y'all know how much I love Mad Cave, how much I think highly of all of the work that comes out of that publisher. And it makes me super excited to want to check that one out. From Marvel, I've got 5 books coming out this week. The first is Marauders #12 by Jerry Duggan with art by Matteo Loli. We are slowly building to the beginning of the Ten of Swords event, and I think Marauders is one of the titles that plays into this. Marauders has probably consistently been one of my favorite of all of the new Dawn of X titles, and we'll see if book 12 keeps it there. The next 2 are #1s. The first is Ultraman, Rise of Ultraman #1, written by Kyle Higgins, Matt Groom, with art by Francesco Mana and Michael Cho. I'm going to get the regular A cover, which is an Alex Ross cover, and I love his art. I'll buy it every day, twice on Sunday. I'm excited for this, that Ultraman was one of those kind of Japanese series that I was able to kind of find on basic cable and whatnot when I was a kid, and I like the idea of the Science Patrol, where you see like a man who can use the beta capsule to make himself huge, to deal with like kaiju and all kinds of other big threats. So, you know, imagine Ant-Man fighting Godzilla, and that gets you the premise of Ultraman, and I'm super excited for it. The next one is Web of Venom Wraith #1, written by Donny Cates and art by Gugiu Villanova. And there are a couple of covers coming out for this, and I'm going to get the A cover by Kyle Holtz. To be honest, I don't know what's going to go on in Web of Venom. I know that everything Cates is doing is hot. I'm 2 books behind in my Venom reading now, but I'll pick this up. And the last 2 are also X-Men titles. You've got X Factor #3, written by Leah Williams with art by David Baldleon, and X Force #12, written by Ben Percy and art by Oscar Basladua. I like both of these books. I'm almost caught up with the pile of X, so I'm ready to keep grinding as we, you know, are on the precipice of the Ten of Swords event. The last 2 books that I plan on picking up this week are both from Scout Comics. The first is Shadowplay #6. This is the final book of the series, I think. It might just be an arc ender. But this is something that I played catch-up on in reading some other Scout Comics books, and I got, you know, a couple of them digitally to read, so I'm excited to see how this book concludes. And then the final book of the week that I am maybe as excited as I am for those Mad Cave titles is VLAD DRACUL #3, written by Matteo Struckel with art by Andrea Moody. I want to see how this all wraps up. You can click on the banner at the top. If you missed it, I got to interview my 2 favorite Italian men who are involved in comics last week, 2 weeks ago. But it's a phenomenal story. I need to go find the original Italian versions of it just so I can see kind of the art from a different publisher. And I want to see how it concludes, because my inner history buff knew enough from some of the events in terms of Vlad versus the Ottomans that this is not the battle against the Ottomans in which he dies. So there is the possibility for a second arc, and when I asked the guys about it in my interview, they said, you know, the same kind of indie publisher response, well, the numbers have to warrant it. So we already know that issues 1 and 2 have both been ordered back for a second printing, and my challenge to y'all is go buy VLAD DRACUL number 3 on New Comic Book Day and see if we can get number 3 ordered for a second printing within 3 days of it hitting the shelves. That I think that would be dope. This is one of my favorite books of the year. Both of these gentlemen are brilliant in the way that they tell a story of a historical figure that we only associate here in the States with being Dracula, but this is just a good kick-ass story of Vlad the Impaler. What do you think? Am I missing out on anything big? I know there are a couple of, you know, major indie titles that are coming out that are in books like 7, 8, and 9 this week that y'all have, you know, been like, you should read Red Mother. Or is it Mercy's got one coming out this week? And these are books that I'm so far behind on finding the singles, and some of these books have just been so hot that I'll trade weight on them. But if there's something else that's in a book 1 or book 2 phase that you think I would like, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see if I can pick it up on Wednesday the 9th of September, my first New Comic Book Day of the school year, because I have to start being an adult again this week. So as always, thanks for stopping by, and have a good one.